Welcome to Between the Sheets, the non-judgmental podcast where we're going to cover various sexual health and wellness topics. I'm your host, Dr. Stephanie Zwanitzer. I'm a urology and sexual health nurse practitioner, and I love helping my patients and listeners discover and develop their most satisfying sexual experiences. Between the Sheets is here to normalize the conversations about sexual health and cover everything from basic anatomy to the most taboo topics and everything in between. Real talk, real pleasure, one episode at a time. So come on, let's get between the sheets. This episode is sponsored by Boston Scientific and its educational website on erectile dysfunction, edcure.com. One study estimated that more than 50% of men over the age of 40 have some degree of erectile dysfunction, which can be frustrating and confusing. Go to edcure.com to find information on erectile dysfunction and treatment options, including long-term treatment options offered by Boston Scientific. Boston Scientific does not endorse any statements or opinions expressed during this episode. Hey guys, welcome back to Between the Sheets. I am so happy that you joined us this week. We have Gloria Vanderhorst here with us today, who is a psychotherapist. She has over 50 years of experience working with preschoolers through adults in her dynamic psychology practice. Her current focus is on the emotional development of men and boys and how culture robs men of access to the full range of emotions, leaving them handicapped. She is the author of a New York Times bestselling book called Read, Reflect, Respond, The 3 R's of Growth and Change. Gloria, welcome. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you, Stephanie. I'm glad to have this opportunity to talk with
Yeah.
you.
Absolutely. So tell me how this kind of came to be your focus. How did you realize that this was what men really need help with?
So I've been educated by boys and men. When
Hmm.
I started my private practice, I had a friend who ran a preschool, and preschools are by and large in the United States run by women.
Hmm.
And the little boys in the preschool tend to have more energy,
Hmm.
they're more fidgety, they move around
Yeah.
more. And so they get referred out for evaluations to
Yep.
identify whether they have a problem, do they have attention deficit
Hmm.
disorder. So I started my practice with evaluating preschool boys,
Okay.
and they educated me. I learned a lot
Yeah.
by working with these preschool boys. Many of them who were referred really didn't have a problem. They were
Hmm.
just normal, healthy boys. But in the context of a female environment, they stood out, right? They like to
Hmm.
move,
Hmm.
they like to fidget. They're busy and their
Hmm.
bodies are active, much more active than the little girl's body. And so I learned a lot about what it means to be a boy
Hmm.
in this culture. And then they educated me about the full range of emotion that they are capable of. We've done, as psychologists, we've done a lot of research on emotional development,
Hmm.
but the research has not been translated into the popular literature. It's
Yeah.
not well known that boys come into the world with a broader range of emotional expression than girls do. Now, that's
Interesting.
a shocking piece
Yeah.
of information, right?
Yeah. It really is.
It's just
Yeah.
mind-blowing, right? Boys can be more intense on the positive end. They get
Hmm.
more excited, more exuberant, more expressive, and they can be more agitated on the negative. I didn't know that, right? In
Yeah.
all of my studies and education,
Right.
no one had ever pointed that out.
Hmm.
And so when I started to work with preschool boys, I started to dig into the research about what is it that makes little boys so different.
Yeah. It's so interesting as you're talking here. I'm picturing my life with my own son.
Yeah.
He and exactly what you're saying. He had female preschool teachers, female teachers,
Mhm.
and his preschool teachers were actually phenomenal. I won't discredit
Oh,
them because
sure.
they totally played with his.
Lovely
But
people.
yeah, but his I was called into the principal's office so many times for my son goofing off and
Right.
throwing pencils and doing silly things and all
Well,
of these things.
yeah.
And it wasn't until just now when you said this, his male teacher, and I think it was fourth grade, gave him the ball that you can sit on, gave him fidget
Right.
things, gave him a board to put around him when they needed to take a test,
Right.
those kinds of things. And you're right. It was the male teacher that
It
saw that.
was
That's so interesting. Yeah. And he's a very successful young man now, but
and I
school
have
is not
my
built for little wiggly boys.
yeah, well, I have my own story, and it's not about a wiggly boy, it's about an adventurous little girl who's my granddaughter, but she had a male preschool
Hmm.
teacher, and they were doing finger paints, all right? So they have this paper and they're, doing the paints on the paper. Well, she started to move off the paper onto the table. She's
Oh,
finger painting the table, and then she's finger painting the leg of the table. This guy took his phone out and videotaped her. He never stopped her,
yeah.
right? Never chastised her
Right.
at all. He was just amazed and he videotaped her, right? But
Yeah.
if it had been a female teacher, she would have been confined,
Hmm.
right? It would have been stay on the paper,
Yep.
right? We don't want paint on the table.
Yep.
So there's a huge difference between the attitude that a woman has teaching and a man has teaching. The
Yeah.
man, because he has his own range of emotional expression, which runs broader, is more tolerant,
Yeah.
right? More willing to experiment. So
Hmm.
I did talk with someone a few weeks ago who I believe was a preschool teacher in Sweden,
Hmm.
and they're required to have both a male and a
Huh.
female teacher in the classroom. And I thought, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
All
Makes a
right,
lot
why
of
not?
sense.
Right? Have a
Yeah.
male model, a female model,
Yes.
and team them together in the classroom. I think it would make a huge difference for the education of
Yeah.
boys. I
Yeah.
I would love to see many changes in the way that we run preschools. I say you should put
Yeah.
a tree in every preschool so the
Yeah.
boys can climb the tree and listen to this story.
Yes. Yes. Oh, I do. I remember my son's preschool teacher, shout out Miss Susie, sometimes she listens. She was fabulous with him specifically because of his extra energy and he was such a good kid, like, he
Mhm,
hated being in trouble, he hated, all of those
mhm,
things, but he just had, like you said, this extra
right?
energy, and he needed ways to get it out, and she worked very well with him, and then again, when he was a little bit older and he had the male teacher. But yeah, it's so interesting to point that out. I hadn't looked at it from that perspective. I just
Mhm,
knew he was my silly wiggly boy,
right?
and my daughter didn't get called to the I didn't get called
That's
to the
right.
principal officer for her.
That's right, and it's because of that natural capability
Yeah.
to have a broader range of emotional expression.
Mhm.
So, we need to educate the population that
Yeah.
that's true of boys so that we expect it. But the
Yeah.
other thing that we need to do is that we need to give boys access to that full range
Mhm.
when they're interacting with their friends. We tell boys not to cry.
Mhm.
That is ridiculous,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
You're playing on the playground, you get elbowed out of the
Mhm.
way, so, get
Yeah.
out of line, uh, and you naturally are going to tear up
Mhm.
and cry. That's a healthy reaction
Yes.
to being shoved out of line. It's a
Yeah.
really healthy reaction. We need to legitimize that reaction for boys as well as for girls.
Mhm. Yeah. So as parents listening, most of our demographic here is older,
Mhm.
middle-aged, older,
Right?
adults on this
Mhm.
podcast. So we can certainly take what you're saying and help our kids. How do we help the men who went through this and are now in adult relationships and maybe not tapped into those emotions because they've been told their whole lives that we have to dampen that down?
Right. Here's the good news, all right? You never lose access to those
Mm.
feeling states,
Okay.
right? They get blocked, right? They get boxed away in your brain, but your brain still has the capability of finding all of those feeling states.
Okay.
So, one of the things that I have on my website that's very helpful that anybody can download for free is a list of feeling words.
Mm.
This is probably 3 pages long, 3 or 4 columns of words on each page. I mean, it's a ton of feeling words. And the marvelous thing about the human brain, even though as a male, you've been shut down and completely told that you can't access feelings on this softer end of the
Mhm.
continuum. If you have access to a list of feeling words, your brain will recognize that feeling immediately. So
Mhm.
you can expand your feeling vocabulary just by using that list of words. I've
Mm.
had families, I say, print it out, put a copy on the kitchen table, put a copy in the area where you all socialize and
Mm.
watch television, and
Yeah.
put a copy in the bedroom. Right? So
Yeah.
that you have easy access at any point in time when a boy or a girl, but
Mhm.
typically boys are the ones that have a hard time accessing their feeling states. So if they're struggling to
Mhm.
figure out what am I feeling in this
Mhm.
moment, your brain will find it. Just
Okay.
scan through those words and it will just pop off the page. Your brain will find it. And in that way, you're expanding your own feeling vocabulary. So that's
Yeah.
one of the things that I would say to every man that I work
Mhm.
with. All right.
Yeah.
Print
I
this
mean, that
out.
makes total
Put
sense.
it in places that you can easily access, put one on your desk or in your drawer at work so that you can expand your own feeling vocabulary. The good news
Mhm.
is that your brain still knows all those feelings,
Yeah.
can
Well,
find them for you,
yeah.
but the culture
Absolutely.
has told you not to unlock that, not to
Mhm.
access those
Yeah.
feelings.
Yeah, and just by identifying it and feeling what they feel in that moment, they
Mhm.
can maybe communicate to their partner, or if it's one of the boys communicating to their parents about, in my body right now, I feel irritable. And what that means to me is my heart is racing and I don't want to talk right now. And I
Right,
don't want to, and it kind of gives them that vocabulary to understand what their body is feeling with that word that their
right,
brain was like, that's what it is. And then they can absorb that and feel that next time. They can say, hey, I'm irritable today.
right. Yeah, it gives you agency. Right?
Yeah,
We all want that as human beings, right? We
that's
want to
amazing.
be in charge. We want to know ourselves. It gives
Yeah.
you agency to expand your feeling vocabulary.
Yeah. And I love that you're saying that the brain doesn't forget this. I think
It
that's
doesn't.
so amazing. And now, how does that work with, because we all hear about, oh, that's from your childhood trauma.
Mhm,
So, how does that kind of connect with, we didn't know this word meant
mhm.
this? We see it on a sheet and our brain tells us this is what you're feeling
This
right now. Is that generally associated with things that happened in a childhood?
absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely,
How
right?
does that
So
really work? Can you give me an example?
yeah, so it's a marvelous process.
Okay.
Right? So in early childhood, if you have been shamed for having soft or tender feelings, so
Mhm.
it's normal, it's natural, right,
Mhm.
for boys and girls to have soft or tender feelings. If
Mhm.
you've been shamed for having a tender moment, then that's traumatic for
Mhm.
you, all right? Because we want to be attached to the people in our family,
Mhm.
all right? That's our initial point of safety. And we build from safety into building deeper relationships.
Mhm.
So we value the feedback from the adults around us.
Mm.
So when we get shamed, we learn immediately not to go into that feeling state because
Okay.
it disconnects me from the people around me.
Mhm.
So many people have an extremely narrowed range of emotional expression
Mhm.
because they've been teased or they've been shamed or they've been ignored. Good news is all of that is still accessible to
Okay.
you. You just have to find the right pathway, right? The
Mm.
feeling sheet is an option, using my book is an option, and putting yourself into therapy is also an excellent option. But it's
Yeah.
entirely possible to recapture the full
Mm.
range of emotional expression and to be able to do a better job of problem solving.
Okay.
Men have a hard time solving emotional problems, right?
Mhm.
The divorce rate is 50%,
Yeah.
right? That's because men and women are not communicating with each,
Yes. Yeah,
right?
well, and it goes back to a lot of times we'll have conversations where the woman is such a stereotypical thing, but it's real. The woman's telling her feelings and, kind of venting to her male partner and he wants to fix. And so
Mhm.
he's not listening to the emotional side of it. That's all she wants is support for the emotional side. And he's like, "Well, have you thought about this? Have you tried
Right,
this? Have you?" And they go into fix it mode because
right.
they don't tap into that emotional part.
That's right. That's right, and we've trained them not
Mhm.
to tap into that, all right? And then that leads to conflicts. Those
Yeah.
conflicts lead to divorce, and the worst case scenario is violence. If you
Yeah.
look at our jails, they're full of men. They're not
Yeah.
full of women. They're full of
Right.
men, all right?
Yeah.
And I think this is the reason they're full of men is that they never learn to express the full range of emotions. So you can't do good problem solving if
Mm.
you can't identify your feeling states. We're feeling individuals,
Yeah.
right?
That's interesting. I've never connected your ability to be emotionally intelligent and work with feelings to problem solving.
Right. You have to be able to
Hmm,
connect those. I
that's
have
so
to be able
interesting.
to identify what I'm experiencing in the moment emotionally and cognitively
Hmm.
so that I can talk about it intelligently. And because we rob boys of the
Hmm.
ability to maintain access to their feeling states, they grow up in systems where
Hmm.
even their deepest friendships, men have very deep friendships
Hmm.
with each other. They bond
Hmm.
with each other, but they do not share
Mm.
with their closest associate, their closest friend intimate
Hmm.
struggles that they're having. I have seen so many men in therapy describe that, they've had this issue
Hmm.
for a long time, have these deep friendships, but does your friend know you're wrestling with this? Well, no,
Yeah.
right? No, I
Yeah.
wouldn't, I'd be too embarrassed
Hmm.
to share that with my friend. But human connection is critical for our health. It's critical for our survival. So if we are not allowed to share and problem solve with another person, we damage ourselves both
Yeah.
emotionally and physically. I think
Hmm.
that men develop more physical problems as they age,
Hmm.
and I think it's connected to the fact that they really don't have the opportunity to express things emotionally, so they
Hmm.
hold them in their bodies.
Yeah, and we're finding out a lot more about the emotions within our body over
Mm,
time and with research that, you know, pain in the hips can be directly related to sexual trauma.
mm,
Pain in the arm can be directly related to what. It's so fascinating to me what our body does, right?
right,
Like our body wants to express that emotion.
that's
And if we let it, great, but when we don't, it damages our body.
that's right, that's
It's
right. So that's
fascinating.
why, I'm very passionate about boys and men,
Mhm.
giving them permission to access the full range
Yeah.
of emotion and retraining themselves
Sure.
makes a
Sure.
huge difference when you can express the full range of emotion.
How, as a partner in an adult relationship, can I help my male partner be more in tune with those and feel safe to be in tune with those around me?
Well, that's a marvelous question, right? Because
Sometimes I have those.
women do have more access to their own feeling states. They say that they want their men to have access to their feeling states. But the truth of the matter is, if you watch couples, and I've done a lot of work with couples, right? If you watch couples, the woman can give intellectual validation to, yes, I would love for him to be more expressive.
Mhm,
But when he takes the risk of being vulnerable, she shuts him down pretty
mhm.
quickly,
Yeah.
right? With kind of placating responses. We as a society have trained ourselves to be afraid of
Mhm.
the emotional expression of men, all
Yeah.
right? Because the majority of it that we see is aggressive.
Yeah.
So we anticipate that if I give space
Mhm,
for my male to be more emotionally expressive, that I'm
mhm.
putting myself in danger,
Yeah.
right? So a guy will come home from work, for example, and he's definitely had a bad day.
Mhm,
All right. The wife will ask, what happened? How, you looks like you had a pretty bad day. He'll give a headline.
mhm.
All right. And she will give some kind of an empathetic but placating
Mm.
response, right? If it were a female friend doing exactly the same report, right? She would get a cup of tea. She would say,
Mhm.
sit down and tell me more. She
Yeah.
doesn't say that to her husband. She doesn't say, sit down and tell me
Mhm.
more. All right. She kind of does a, thanks for sharing, and then goes back to whatever she was doing
Okay.
before. So we've we've got a double
Mhm.
training going
Yeah.
on, right? That
Absolutely.
we've trained women to want the emotional connection,
Mhm,
but not to have the resources
mhm.
to help that male do the deeper dive into
Yeah.
feeling states. A
Mm,
woman will sit forever with a female friend
mhm.
and
We
listen
will.
to everything.
Yes. Yes.
But to a guy, she's out of there pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And we,
So
we
it's
could
on
change
us
that,
too.
you
Yeah,
know?
it's on us too to do that. Yeah, we need to give them that space. Tell me more.
Right. hmm
What else?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Keep talking, right? How
Yeah.
many times have you said that to a girlfriend?
Oh, yeah.
Keep talking. Tell me
Absolutely.
more.
Mhm. That's so interesting. Okay, so we can definitely hold a better space for our partner and give them that safety and that time
Right.
to express what they're actually feeling and going through, and that then will translate into future conversations where they want to share with us more.
Absolutely.
Okay. I love that. I love that. It's amazing to me how many levels of our relationships come back to communication. And if
Mhm.
we don't have those skills, then
Mhm.
that makes that really difficult. What are some other skills that our listeners can do in their relationships to really give that safety and that space to each other?
Well, I think each partner really needs to be able to expand their own feeling vocabulary. I can't help someone do something that I haven't done myself,
Hmm.
right? If I'm going to teach you how to knit, I need to know how to knit.
Yes, that's helpful.
I'm going to help you expand your own feeling vocabulary. Then I need to know my own feeling
Yeah.
vocabulary, right? So, what are my limitations? What are the
Hmm.
words that I keep using over and over again? And can
Hmm.
I do a deeper dive into my own history,
Yeah.
right? And
Hmm.
expand my own feeling vocabulary and uncover some of the earlier interactions or traumas that are
Hmm.
limiting me and holding me back
Yeah.
from a deeper relationship. So you also have to educate yourself in
Hmm.
order to facilitate educating the guy that you love.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Is there a time when our couples should say, hey, we really need to get an outside perspective. We need somebody to help teach us these tools.
I think as soon as possible is the answer
Yeah.
to that, right? When distance appears in a relationship, it will appear in a couple of different forms. It'll appear either quietly, right?
Mm,
So you don't do as much interaction anymore. Things are transactional. You've got a good system going, but you're traveling in parallel,
mhm.
right? Or you're fighting with
Yeah.
each other, right? That the tension has increased, arguments increase, dislike of the other person increases. And so there are silent ways to
Mhm.
create problems and distance, and there are loud ways to create problems and distance. Paying
Yeah.
attention to that distancing mechanism, whatever it is
Mhm.
really important, and caring enough to point it out and seek a change. If we don't seek a change, then everything is going to escalate. It will definitely get worse. It's really important to identify that stressor early on
Mhm.
and seek help, ask for
Yeah.
help.
Yeah, I agree. I think that, it's kind of like I remember at one point in time somebody telling me that we were having a conversation about prenuptial agreements. And I was like, gosh, in my mind at the time, my naivety
Mhm,
said, well, that's just asking to fail. That's just saying we don't expect to be together. So let's do
mhm,
this prenup. And they said something that was so powerful to me. They said, no, actually, it's when you both love each other the most and you prioritize each other the most. That's when you make the decisions about if we end, this
mhm,
is how we're going to do things because you'll do it the most fairly. You'll do all these
right.
things. And I thought, gosh, that's such a different perspective. And I have held on to that and I love
That's
that
great.
perspective. And I think that that's so true when we translate that to couples therapy and things like that as well. If you can go in when you still like each other
Mhm,
and maybe you're just noticing slight communication issues or something before it gets bad, like you're saying,
right.
go get the tools and go because then you can work through the
Mhm,
difficult things and where you're off a lot better and kinder.
right,
Yeah.
right.
Because I think a lot of times by the time we're even thinking about working through things, we're resentful, we're angry, we're using mean language, and it's not helpful.
It's very important that we ask for help, but it's difficult for a
It is.
human being to ask for help, all right? We've been trained to be independent, to
Yeah.
problem solve on our own, but it's
Mhm.
a powerful process because we're born connected to another human being.
Mhm.
Right? We're born
Yep.
connected, we seek connection, and that means that asking for help when you're in trouble is a normal, natural reaction. Give
Yeah.
yourself permission to ask for help.
Yeah, and I think a lot of us don't wanna be failures,
Mhm,
and that's how we look at it. I was the first divorce in either side of my extended family.
mhm,
And I felt a lot of shame about that. I was embarrassed to call people and tell people we were getting divorced because no one on my mom's side, my dad's side, my grandparents, no one
mm,
was divorced.
ever.
Never. And here I was, 28 years old and getting a divorce, and it was a good thing. We're much better being divorced than we
Mhm,
would have ever been together, but it was very shameful and
that's
I felt
traumatic. Mhm,
yeah, and so I think that, you're right, like, a lot of what happens to us beforehand and a lot of the cultural truths are perpetrated in our relationships,
right.
and, had that man and I been meant for each other and had done all the work and all those things, we maybe could have worked it out, maybe not, I don't know, I don't go into that because that's all in
Mhm,
the past. But I think we did not have some of the tools that through all the therapy I've been through now, I
right,
have. And so I agree with you. I think it's so important to get those tools and to get them early on so you can kind of build this network of feelings and safety and
right.
communication.
And we could do a much better job in our educational system of
Yes.
facilitating uh,
Mhm.
teaching what the dynamics of a relationship are
Mhm.
really all about and what's the skill set
Yes.
that you need to be in a healthy relationship with another person. We miss this opportunity in the
Mhm.
educational system. I
Yep.
remember when I was in high school or middle school, they gave you an apple, right? They
Mm.
pair you up and give you an apple, and the 2 of you are supposed to take care of this apple for a week, which
Okay.
means it functions like an infant, right? You
Yep.
can never leave it alone.
Yeah.
You always have to take care of it. Well, by the end of the week, some people came back with apple cores.
Right.
They'd
Yep.
eaten their baby
Yep.
or terribly bruised.
Yeah, threw them in the backpack. Yep. Yes.
So, uh, it's funny to look back at it, but it was an exercise
Mhm.
that really is important to
Yeah.
educate teenagers on what does it mean to have responsibility for another human being,
Yeah.
and
Absolutely. That's a great
what's
analogy.
the
I love it.
skill set you need to learn in
Yeah.
order to be responsible for another
Yeah.
human being.
That's
We've got an
amazing. I love that.
opportunity to do much more training
Yeah.
about emotion and about relationship dynamics and about problem
Mhm.
solving, educating yourself about your own emotional states. We could do a
Yeah.
job.
I think you're right. I think if our educational system adapted a lot more human interactions and feelings and things like that, we actually had classes on this stuff. Man, we would be so much better served to
Right.
be in friendships, relationships, work relationships where we have to like you whether we want to or not and work with
Mhm.
you. It is a disservice that we don't have those kind of classes.
Right.
Yeah, I agree with you. That's
Mhm.
fascinating. So, what are some tips? We've talked a lot about in a coupleship.
Mhm.
So, for those of us that are parents and we're raising our boys and our girls, but especially our boys, we've got the feelings sheet. What
Right.
else can we do to help them grow into wonderfully emotionally intelligent young men?
You can be observant,
Hmm.
right? You can be much better at observing body posture, tone of voice that gives you information
Hmm.
about emotion, right? We
Yeah.
wear our emotions, right? They're not a
Yeah.
secret, right? They can be seen in our bodies, they can be heard in our tone of voice. So, paying attention to body movement, body posture, tone of voice, and being curious.
Mm.
Right? We don't take enough time to be curious, particularly in the current environment. Children are programmed to the hilt, right? They get out of bed, throw breakfast into their bodies, go to school. After school, they go to an athletic event or
Hmm.
some kind of other music. They're in classes, they're in trainings, and they don't get home until 7, 8 o'clock at
Hmm.
night, throw food in their bodies, take a shower, do their homework, and go to bed.
Hmm.
There's not
Exhausted.
Yes, there's not time
Hmm.
for interaction.
Yeah.
So we could definitely change that, right?
Yeah.
Remove an activity so that you have time to sit with your child, take a walk with your child. I tell people, teenagers in particular, will do a much better job of talking if they don't have to face you
Yeah.
in the car.
Yep. My kids have both liked coming in. I go to bed early. So they will come in and lay in bed next to me and talk. And
Mhm.
I was just talking to my mom about this on the phone because I used to do it to her as a teenager. And I said, it's one of my favorite times and one of my
Mhm.
most annoying times all at the same time because I am ready for bed. And could you not have wanted to talk to me 2 hours ago when I was awake and ready for this? But
No,
no,
could
they
not.
wait till I'm half asleep.
Could
But
not.
it's still my favorite time, though. I had both kids home. My daughter was home from college. All three of us were laying in my bed one night, just chit chatting, and it was the most wonderful time. But you're right; they're not looking at me.
They're
We're
not
both
looking
laying on
at
the
you.
bed, looking at the
Right,
ceiling or whatever,
right.
and
Because
and it
we
gives us that
we
time.
express so much, all right? Communication is not just language coming out of your mouth.
Yeah,
It's your facial expression, it's your body posture. In fact, they say more than 90% of communication is nonverbal.
Hmm.
And so it's safer if I
Yeah.
don't have to process all of that detail. So if I'm laying on the bed, if we're driving in the car where we don't have to face each other,
Mhm.
there's an opportunity to be more open, take more risk in
Mhm.
sharing. So go for a walk with your kids, put them in the car, go for a drive, make up a reason to go for a drive,
Yeah.
and you'll get a ton more information than sitting across the table from them.
Yeah. It's interesting. My son actually did that for me. One of the best conversations we had, we were laying in bed and he was joking with him about something. And he's like, Mom, that's why I don't tell you more things about that. And I was like, What do you mean? And he's like, Because you make it a joke. And I was like, But
Mhm.
I'm just like joking around. And he's like, But that makes me not wanna tell you
Right, good for
because
him.
I want you to respond to me and just be like, "Okay, that sounds great," and not, "Ooh, you were talking to a girl," like, I
Right,
thought I was being silly, and it was,
right.
frustrating for him, and I was so proud of him for telling me that, and I
Absolutely.
said, "Absolutely, you got it," and I have not done that to him since, and he has opened up more to me since,
Right,
and
right.
it was amazing, and I was so proud of him for telling me that in that moment. I
Absolutely.
because I wouldn't have known that that bothered him.
Mhm, mhm.
How many of us do things like that? Like, we think it's silly, we think it's cute, and
Right,
man, if they don't tell us that it bothers them, we have no idea.
right. So you've done an excellent job of parenting because he took that risk.
Yeah. Yeah, my I have great kids, and we've always had good communication. I think, part of being divorced from their dad when they were really little is I always wanted to have them have a safe place.
Mhm.
Whether it's something's wrong with between me and you, something's wrong with between your dad and you, whatever's going on, something at school, a bully, whatever, always wanted to be that safe place.
Mhm.
And I did. I worked really hard. I learned a lot of tools to do that because I think especially in this society with so much social media and all of these
Right.
things that we can pull away from each other,
Mhm.
kids really need a safe place.
They do.
Yeah.
And that takes time,
It
right? So
does.
your example of laying in bed, with them in the evening is a great opportunity. It does take time
Mhm.
in order to give the adolescent the opportunity to open
Yeah.
up, all right? They're not gonna do it immediately.
Right.
You have to give the time and the space and be welcoming
Yeah.
of that time and space.
Yeah. It's fascinating. I have learned a lot as a mom.
Excellent.
Yes.
Excellent
Yes.
job.
This is awesome. What a great conversation. And I hope that it's really helped our listeners, not only in raising their sons and daughters, but also in their own connections. Thank you so much for being here, Gloria. This has been a
You're
wonderful
welcome. I've
conversation.
enjoyed it, Stephanie.
Yes, absolutely. Tell our listeners where they can find you and about your book and everything.
All right. The easiest way to access me is to go to my website, and that's www.drvanderhorst.com. So it's www.drvanderhorst.com. You can find all kinds of resources there, right? There, everything that I've written in blogs is there, videos about different approaches to therapy. It's a really good kind of educational
And your
website.
feelings list.
And the feelings list
Yes.
is there to be downloaded. And you can access my book through by going to any bookstore and asking for Read, Reflect, Respond, the 3 R's of growth and change. They will order it for you if they don't have it in stock. Or if you don't have a favorite bookstore, go to Amazon. Amazon will send it any place in the world.
That's
And it's a
great.
great resource because it has an essay on one page and the facing page is blank. Now,
Mm,
this is a journal book, but most journal books have lines on the
mm,
facing page for you to write responses.
mhm.
But I've told you today that you come into this world with full access to your emotions, and you can't write as an infant,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so I want you to be able to access that storage that is there, and you can do it by drawing, you can do it by scribbling, you can do it by writing words, so you're free to write words on the page,
Yeah.
but the page is blank so that you can take a deeper dive into your storage lockers in
Mm-hmm.
your brain and access some very early feeling
Yeah.
experiences. So get a copy of the book and start your own journey in discovering your own emotional history.
I love that. That's amazing. And we'll put all of this in the show notes, you guys, so you can look there as well for the links and the name of the book in case you forget it. Thank you so much, Dr. Vanderhorst. It was such a
You're
pleasure to
welcome.
have you on here.
I've enjoyed the
Everybody,
conversation.
thank you. All right, everybody, don't forget to check out reviveish.com for all your sexual health and hormone needs here in Maryland for your telehealth appointments. And as always, go have some fun between the sheets. Perfect. Thank you for joining us and exploring sexual health topics here on Between the Sheets. New episodes are available every Wednesday. Please subscribe and rate our podcast so we can reach more listeners. And don't forget to tell your friends, partners, and anyone who will listen about Between the Sheets. Send any comments, questions, or stories to podcastbetweenthesheets@gmail.com. It's all one word, podcastbetweenthesheets@gmail.com. Thanks for listening and go have some fun between the sheets.